Chapter 5. Strength and power do not intertwine. The following morning, Izuku stepped into his class to begin homeroom, nearly dropping his briefcase at the sight of his students. Every single one of them had somehow gotten hurt in some way. A few had bandages on their cheeks and arms, and others had bruises. Atura seemed to have gotten the worst of whatever they went through. His arm was in a sprain, and gauze padded over his right ear. "Good morning, Mr. Deku." They greeted him like normal, their energy unwavering. He whispered, sliding the door shut behind him. "Can someone explain to me what happened to you guys?" "We had Miss Lin's class before this." One of the students raised their hand, her fingers wrapped in bandages. "Her self-defense course?" Izuku asked for confirmation, resulting in nervous nods. "The class is just a lecture, isn't it?" "Well, it used to be." Kota sighed before glaring at one of the male students in the corner. "But Haruta had to open his big, fat mouth." James... Haruta, one of the strongest freshmen in the hero course, just under Atura. At his desk, his feet were kicked up and his hands were shoved into his pockets of his pants. With fierce, fiery eyes and fierce, fiery red hair, he shot Kota a sharp glare. "You want to fight, water boy?" Kota jumped from his desk, his chair nearly falling over. "Quit calling me water boy, you damn himbo." "Himbo?" "Enough!" Izuku shouted. Kota immediately sat back down, while Hatura clicked his tongue and turned away in annoyance. Izuku walked in front of the silent classroom, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Hatura, can you explain what Kota is talking about?" "Well," the redhead started, avoiding eye contact. "She was teaching, and I totally got bored of hearing her plain-ass voice. So I said we weren't going to learn anything if she just showed us pictures and talked about the history of moves." "Then totally insulted her," Atura mumbled, making Hatoru growl. "Insult her? How?" Atura cracked his neck in pain, massaging his shoulder. Hatura suddenly brought up how she was a cop, and if she was such tough shit that she should teach lessons through actual combat if she actually wanted us to learn anything. "Don't tell me." Izuku's head dropped, gritting the outer edges of the podium. "She took us out to Gym Gemma and totally demolished us." Kota winced, his forehead falling onto his desk. "At first she kinda went easy, then we started complaining that she wasn't taking us seriously. So she fought every single one of us the same time until we couldn't stand up anymore. Now, she says every other class will go to hand-to-hand combat with her to apply what we learn in class." Another student chimed in. "Worst part is that she's not even using her quirk." Archer heaved, throwing his head back. "How am I going to be the strongest hero if I can't even defeat someone without using powers?" Izuku watched as the students all murmured to each other. Okay, settle down. I'll talk to Yen to see if she'll consider reframing from No!" The entire class shouted in defense. Surprised, he replied, "No? We can learn so much from Miss Lin if we fight her. She promises not to go easy. We can't pass her up on that." A girl sitting next to Hatura, Maki, jumped to her feet with pink cheeks. "Yeah, teach." Hatura nodded, his earlier frustration melting into determination. "Sure, it sucked getting our asses handed to us, but that just means we've got room to grow. We spar against each other all the time, but fighting someone with pure human strength, that's how we really shape in our skills." Are you all okay with this?" "Really?" Izuku questioned. You have her class twice a week. This means you'll fight her hand-to-hand at least once every week. You're all okay with that? Yes, sir! Izuku smiled to himself. That was just like his students. Each of them had their own quirks, literally and figuratively. Hatora, aggressive and strong-head. I realize I've been saying his name wrong this entire time. Always aimed for the top. Maki, with her boundless energy and enthusiasm, saw every battle as an opportunity to learn. Hatora had a competitive spirit, his dream becoming the next symbol of peace laced in every decision he made. Kota, though short-tempered at times, wanted to be just like Izuku and his parents, and allowed himself to get hurt and make decisions in a process to grow. A few students were already whispering strategies to each other, whilst others stretched their arms, itching to test their strength once more. Izuku felt immensely proud of his students. They were a handful, sure, but all could do was something he couldn't see, but knew was there. And his UA class and them. But then, they were beginning their journeys as heroes. This was just a start, but they were proving to be a promising bunch already. Later, Izuku slid open the door to the break room to see Yin inside, leaning against the corner with a cup of steaming hot coffee in her hands. She looked up. By the way, you can change it to tea or water, it doesn't matter. Paying little to no attention to him before staring back down onto her mug. The sun poured into the room, beaming right onto her skin, and the light caught her eye in a way he hadn't seen before, making them look like sparkling dew. Good afternoon, he greeted cheerfully, his face turning a deep red. He placed his lunchbox on one of the tables and sat in a chair to eat his lunch. Whilst he unpacked his food, he sneaks glances at Yin while she quietly sipped her drink as she gazed out the window. Watching the green leaves sway from the branches they grew from, her irises twinkled innocently, and Izuku began to wonder if she knew how enchanting her eyes were. They were shaped contrastic to her rugged, hardcore personality. They were soft, holding an ethereal clarity, shifting between hues depending on the light, sometimes a silvery green, other times a deep, glassy blue. When she moved, her gaze seemed to glisten, like fresh rain rolling off petals. I wonder if eyes have their own quirk. I want to know it so badly. Izuku suddenly noticed that her arms were wrapped in bandages, and a band-aid was placed above her right elbow. Did she get hurt? Was it from the combat session with her students? Did they give you a hard time? Izuku asked, Yin's gaze immediately turning into a glare. He swallowed hard. Crap, she definitely took it the wrong way. She'd probably think I'm calling her weak for getting hurt by teenagers. They're strong. Huh? I could have hurt them way worse, maybe broken a bone or two, but even when I started to make things harder, they wouldn't give up. Why is that? His mouth parted open, surprised. Her voice was surprisingly softer than normal. She seemed confused, or curious, the way her brow pulled together, her knuckles turning white as she gripped her cup. Because that's who they are, he finally said. They push forward, no matter how impossible it seems. It's not just about winning for them, it's about proving themselves that they can be stronger, even if it means getting hit after hit. But they were at their limits. I could see it. They could barely stand. Izuku smiled knowingly. That's exactly why they kept going. He leaned forward slightly, resting his arms on the table. They don't want an easy way out. They want to learn their strength. You can't break them, Yin. Not that easily. Her grip on the cup loosened just a bit. Her fingers still hovered over the rim, tense. The students, they were willing to take the pain, to push past the exhaustion, just to prove they were strong. Wasn't that exactly what she was doing? Working herself past her breaking point, taking on every case, every shift, every fight. Because stopping meant acknowledgement, her weakness. Because if she kept pushing, If she kept proving herself, maybe she'd convince everyone, that she deserved to be on the task force, that she was still a good officer, even after. She swallowed, shifting her gaze to the dark liquid in her cup. That's stupid, she muttered, but there was no bitter in her voice. Izuku examined her. A part of him concluded that she truly thought it was, but only because she realized she had seen herself in these kids. He wondered, what was the reason for her pushing past her limits?